should you eat at night? That's right, you heard it here in this space. We will be focusing on that, and that will be led by Dr. Alice herself and Dr. Hiba, our qualified nutritionist and dietitian. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Alice and Dr. Hiba. Over to you, Dr. Alice.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about what should you eat for dinner? And of course, I'm here courtesy of Sahara Nutrition. What should you eat for dinner? Most of the people I've talked to eat their largest meal at dinner. And this is a problem, because when you eat too much at night, a lot of things go on. First of all, remember at night you're going to sleep, so you need less food. Your body needs less energy because you're going to sleep. So you should eat small portion at night. When you eat large portions, first of all, because your brain uses ready glucose, there's a lot of glucose that is produced from the food you've consumed, so you have an active brain. And then secondly, if you've eaten things like meat, chicken, fish, animal protein is digested for long. It's digested maybe 7 to 8 hours. This interferes with your sleep. So you're not going to sleep properly. So then imagine you're not sleeping and you have an active brain at night when you're supposed to be sleeping. That will cause a problem. But let's see. There is also something else that affects our sleep. We have two hormones. We have melatonin hormones, which is a sleep hormone, and it helps you to sleep. And then we have serotonin hormone, which is an alert hormone. So it helps you to feel awake, especially when you get up. What happens if you eat too much food at night? Your serotonin levels increase. Remember, serotonin is the hormone that keeps you alert. So when the hormone levels and serotonin levels increase, it means that you cannot sleep. And automatically when your serotonin levels increase, your melatonin levels, which is the sleep hormone, decreases. And so you are alert and you're not asleep. And this is affected by food intake and the amount of food you eat at night, and also certain foods that you eat at night, including like protein. So a lack of melatonin, like we said, causes sleeplessness and even insomnia. And a deficiency in serotonin can result in feelings of depression and lethargy. So it's very important to eat the right portions at the right time, because these hormones are affected. And today we are talking about at night. So what happens when you eat too much at night? We've seen that your brain is alert, the food takes long to digest, you cannot sleep, you also interfere with your sleep hormone. So what happens? So we know that at night, your brain stores new information. So it's like you improve your memory. The body's repair cells and gets rid of toxic waste. Your body also restores energy and releases molecules like hormones and proteins, which, of course, if they stay behind, these are the things that cause cancer in the long run and other chronic diseases. Also, nerve cells communicate and reorganize, which supports healthy brain function. So you feel rejuvenated. So all these processes take place at night when you're sleeping. And so when you eat too much food, you will not be sleeping. When you eat too much meat, too much protein, the body is busy processing these things. So these processes are not complete. Yes, they happen. Maybe they are complete, but they're complete 30% instead of 70%. So the consequences of this is you're always tired and fatigued. And sometimes when this is your life, it becomes normal. You're like, but that's how I always feel. It's like an alcoholic never knows how to be sober because they're always just drunk. So it's the same way when you're fatigued, sometimes you don't know what it is to feel better. So if you eat at night, it causes fatigue. And of course, depending on where you live, in which part of the world, depending on the systems there, you work so hard, you work so late, you have to take care of your family, and you have to do so many other things. So you're always tired and fatigued. Your productivity, when it comes to being productive at work, being productive at school, is completely reduced. Because you're an adult, when you go to work, you know you need to work. So you're going to make an effort to do your work no matter what. But you're actually performing, studies have shown that you're performing at less than 20% of your capacity. So if you're a student, you struggle. If you're, whatever you are, a doctor, a surgeon, you struggle. But you should not struggle. All you need to do is reduce the portions. And of course, also low endurance. So even if it's just walking a certain distance, you can't endure carrying something heavy, you can't endure. Every normal activity becomes really difficult and becomes like it's too much demand on your energy level. If you eat too much at night and you want to lose weight, my friend, it's going to be difficult. It's a challenge to lose weight when you eat too much at night, because remember, you're going to sleep. The body requires very little food, but you're eating a lot more. So the body's efficiency to store energy is even higher. And then imagine you have diabetic, you're being treated for hypertension, you're being treated for cancer, you're being treated for something, some medical conditions, chronic condition. Can we really control these conditions? Can we manage them? If you're always tired and fatigued, you're overweight because you eat too much at night, can we actually control them? So what happens? Your medication dosage, if you're hypertensive, your medication dosage just increases. Let me give you an example. A hypertensive person is not supposed to eat protein, animal protein at night, or any form of protein. Why? It's been found that the amino acids, which are molecules that make up your protein, increases your glomerular filtration rate. Like your kidney works harder. We know that your kidney is the one that controls your blood pressure. So when your kidney is working harder, then your blood pressure is raised. So when you eat animal protein at night, it means your blood pressure is always high at night. So people who are in their 50s and above, one of the advice we give them is not to eat any protein at night because it increases your blood pressure. And so if you eat a lot of food, a lot of protein, you can't sleep properly, then the doctor, in an effort to control your blood pressure, will just be increasing your dosages of medication. When you're diabetic, in an effort to control your blood sugar, your dosages increase. And of course, whatever it is, your high cholesterol, it increases. And so what happens is, then these medications are toxic. The more you take, the more toxic it gets. And so you are at long risk of damaging your liver, damaging your kidney, and being dependent on this drug, plus taking other drugs to manage the side effects of these drugs, which is just something that can easily be prevented. And just, there's so many ways of doing this, but today we are talking about managing your dinner. What should you eat for dinner? So you can see the mistakes we make in diet are few. You probably eat healthy the whole day, eat fruit, take water, walk, but then you come home at 9 and you give yourself a huge meal. So sometimes the mistake we make are few, just eating the wrong portions at the wrong time, but they are very costly. We can just say if you're diabetic, if you're hypertensive, your dosages increase, and that is costly in the long run, because also your quality of life is reduced. So who makes these choices? Does somebody make the choice for you?
No.
Individual choices. Even if your plate of food was put for you, is a choice you make on your own. So let's carry on. So what can you eat for dinner? With this knowledge that we've talked about, something light for sure, okay? But before even you make that decision, let's talk about what we call your circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is a natural cycle of physical, mental, and behavior changes the body goes through in 24-hour cycle. So it's actually your internal clock and your sleep-wake alarm. So when your circadian rhythm is well trained, it means that you are going to bed maybe at 10 o'clock and you wake up at 5 o'clock. And that is your cycle. And so when you train your circadian rhythm, then your hormones, your physical activity, your mental health, all these things, circulation, everything is controlled by your circadian rhythm. So let's just say it's your body's clock that tells you it's time to go to bed and it's time to go to sleep. And why is circadian rhythm important? It's very important in determining your natural sleeping, your feeding patterns, your brainwave activity, your hormone production, cell regeneration, and other important biological processes determined by this cycle. But when we eat too much at night, we interfere with our circadian rhythm. There are other things that also interfere with it, like when you sit in lighting the whole day, you're in the office, you have lights the whole day, from morning to midnight. That interferes with your circadian rhythm. You find that when you go to sleep, it takes you 2 hours to fall asleep. Somebody else gets in bed, 15 minutes later, they're gone. Food plays a very big role. Hydration status plays a very big role. So how does your food affect your circadian rhythm? And so all this is an effort. It affects, your food affects it very much. And what can happen if your circadian rhythm, you've not trained it and you're eating too much at night? So you will have memory issues. You have trouble with thinking and concentration. Like you said, your productivity level is low. You have mood changes. You are more likely to have accidents when you don't eat at night. And this eating at night, when you don't sleep well at night, and we know it's affected by your food intake. You have a lower immune system. So you're more likely to get upper respiratory tract infections. And of course, the more often you get those, then you know that your immune system is low. You're likely to get high blood pressure. You have, of course, very high risk for diabetes. Your weight gain, your weight is high and very hard to manage unless you're fortunate to come from those hyper families with very, very hyperactive metabolism. And for the married people, you have a low sex drive, so you cannot meet your nocturnal activities. Then you have a risk of heart disease and you have poor balance. So you can easily fall or break your bone. And this is because we're interfering with our circadian rhythm, we're interfering with our night, our sleeping time, and there are many causes, like we said, but today we are talking about food as a major cause. So how much food do you eat? What do you eat at night? Think about a super pill. If you're given a pill, and this pill, you take it, you are full of energy. You sleep at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you're gone. You sleep very well, you wake up 5 o'clock sharp, you exercise. It's a super pill. It makes you super active. You sleep well, you work well, you're very productive, you're on top of the world. Would you take this pill?
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. But this pill is actually just your lifestyle. It's your lifestyle. You have a choice. It's the choice you make. Your choice can be having this super pill, and it's just making changes. And you don't have to make changes overnight. Some of us have been having some habits for years, and so it's hard to wake up and change. So slowly make the right choices, because also the older we get, the more risks that awaits us if our habits have not been good. So think about the super pill and make every effort to get it. So what's my parting shot for today? I want to leave time for more questions. To lengthen thy lives, lessen thy meals. So naturally, just eat small portion of food. It doesn't matter what time of the day. You don't have to have a large portion of food, a lot of bread, a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables, yes, small portion of meat, small portion of starch. But to lengthen thy lives, lessen thy meals. Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I believe we have some questions in the chat box. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Alice. One of which I actually put in the chat box to know. So when is the ideal cutoff time, to stop eating, at night? You mentioned a lot about, controlling our portions, making sure we're not eating too much heavy things at night so that then it doesn't affect our sleep and stuff like that. So when would you say ideally is the cutoff time for, stop having heavy foods at night?
Okay. So I'm always not good at telling people eat at 8 o'clock, eat at 6 o'clock. But I will say it this way. If you have to train our circadian rhythm, you need 8 hours to sleep and to sleep well. And if you've been having bad habits of working late in the night and not exercising, not drinking water, having light the whole time, it's going to affect your circadian rhythm. And circadian rhythm literally controls your life. It controls your brainwave activity, all those things. So then, if you have to have 8 hours of sleep, what time do you go to work? And what time do you go to bed? How long does it take you to prepare? So then plan accordingly. For me, I stop eating. The latest I can eat anything is 8 o'clock, the latest. But most of the time, the minute I come from work, 5, 6 o'clock, I eat dinner. So think about it. What do you want for yourself? What time do you have to go to work or go to school or take children to school? And what time do you usually go to bed? So put in 8 hours of sleep. Even if you're just lying in bed and just chilling, you need to make sure you get that 8 hours. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Can I just add a follow-up to that, with this explanation? So yeah, even bearing that in mind, what would you recommend before the time you actually sleep? So as everyone's sleep time is different, yes. But then, if you're putting that into perspective, what would be the recommendation to have finished the dinner, just before the sleep time? I hope you get my question. So not specifically what time.
Depending on what you eat, usually I don't recommend to eat a protein at night because the protein will take you 7 to 8 hours to digest. So eat vegetables and some starch, something small, and go to bed. You can sleep 1 hour after eating some vegetables or some fruit, yeah. You can eat, 1 hour, you can go to bed. Yeah. But if you eat, the less you eat, the longer you should take to go to lie down, because you need to give time for the food to be digested and to be used up.
Thank you for touching on that, Dr. Alice and Dr. Hiba. One of the things that you mentioned, which is very vital, I think, is the not snacking before the dinner, because then by the time it gets to dinner, you're already pretty much filled up. And then another point that you've just gone on to mention is, not eating too much and then you're not being able to sleep because the food takes a longer time to digest, which led me on to my next question that I've put here in the chat box, because I've heard from family, friends, they receive heartburn, because if they eat too late, they receive a heartburn and they because they can't, and they have to sit up and wait till the food digests properly before they can sleep as well. So thank you for letting us know.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have to do is you have to really assess yourself. What do I want 5 years from now? Blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. What do you want? And then work backwards. Because if you're not eating healthy, fast forward, what is going to happen in 5 years' time? So let's work backwards. 5 years' time, if I don't change, I'm going to get this. So let's not go there. Let's start making a few changes. Yeah.
Dr. Hiba, is there any additional things you'd like to add on to that?
No, yeah, I think Dr. Alice has touched on everything.
I think there's a question about breakfast, but we can discuss that another time. Today is about dinner. But just to answer you, always your largest meal should be breakfast. It's like a king for breakfast, a princess for lunch, and a pauper for dinner. You've had that time and time again. It's an old adage, but it stays on and it works. Yeah.